Hi folks, and welcome to tonight's stream. My name is Neil and I am the one who is playing through today's game. Just give me one sec, I don't know why my captions have decided not to work, so I'm going to very quickly fix this because captions are good. So, one moment please. This was all working perfectly just a minute ago. There we go. So, hi folks. Great to see you all here again. So this is me, Neil. I am the developer, I guess, the writer designer of the Indie TTRPG Fair, which normally streams on Tuesdays at 8 o'clock Dublin time, which is basically GMT. A really fun game set in an alternate 19th century France, with a bunch of badass women who are kind of found themselves acting as intermediaries between humans and fae in the Auvergne region of central France. But tonight I am doing another one of my indie one-shots. We have a lovely new overlay that was designed by Neve, one of the players in our stream. Thank you, Neve. I'm seeing her there in chat. This is a semi-regular series I'm trying to do where I play through solo RPGs made by indie creators. And this game here, Not Your Witch, is by Becky Annison, who's part of the Black Armada team. You can find the link to the game on their itch.io page if you are interested, and I'm going to be putting it in chat now and periodically throughout the game or throughout the night. Yeah, so this is a really fun RPG where the premise is that you have just bought a cottage, in a lovely little cottage on the hold on one second. Google, yes, I am still here, stay on the call now. Sorry, Google Meets. You, as I said, are playing, the idea is that you have bought a cottage, a lovely little cottage on the edge of a village. You didn't get a chance to view the property in person when the estate agent was pitching it to you. Diaries just didn't line up or something. It was really cheap though, okay, and the idea is as you you move in that you are basically getting weird vibes from the locals. People seem to think that you are the local witch, and this game uses it's a journaling solo RPG. Okay, so we'll be journaling tonight as we play through the game. Really simple mechanics. On each day something happens. Yes, I do remember you. Thank you for joining us again. So as you are on each day, you roll a d6 to see what happens. Okay, and we'll just basically going to be telling a story. This is a really fun, simple little game. I reckon we'll probably play through it in maybe an hour or so. I'm not entirely sure. I don't have a lot of experience playing solo RPGs. We did another one there a few weeks ago, Monster Ascent by Kelly Bruce, which was a lot of fun. We were fighting a kaiju, and that was a really fun game. We played through it a few times because I was trying to one-shot the creature, and statistically, probabilistically, very difficult to do. But this is a game that's not about combat, it's about journaling, and it's about telling a story. So, we've just arrived at the house, drive through. So the first thing we're going to do is roll my first d6 to see what the house is like. So, right, roll the tree. So surrounded by a overgrown herbal garden. I'm describing our new home and how you are doing. Yes, I do stream on PC. What you're doing to make it chef's kiss perfect. Okay, so I don't know if I'm actually going to type my journaling. Obviously, if you're playing these kinds of games, you know the thing about solo RPGs is part of the fun of that is journaling. But I don't know how interesting it is to see me typing on the screen. I have the this. I just literally just copied the PDF text into a Google Doc so I could easily show it. And thanks, it was recommended by a friend. trying to make things a bit more inclusive, adding captions. So I've cut up the text here. Obviously the PDF is prettier than this. I just copy pasted into a Google Doc because it was easier for my overlay system and all the rest of that. So I don't know if I'm going to be necessarily type it, but as part of the whole journaling process, I'm just going to be describing what it is like. So pulling up at the front of the house, discover that it has this overgrown herbal garden, which I'm already loving. This is a single story structure, okay? When you walk in through the front door, you're immediately into the living room, okay? It's a smallish space, maybe only 3 by 4 meters, and there's a massive old fireplace there to keep the place warm. I was told by the estate agent there's a back boiler behind it and a pump, so if I have the fire lit, that's pumping water to heat the whole house and to heat the water in the tank, which is perfect. Might need to be banking the fire so that I can light it first thing in the morning, but that shouldn't be a massive problem. Now, looking around the house, I see that there's a lovely kitchen with a massive Agus stove that runs off solid fuel, okay, that I can cook off of. And Agus are fantastic. They can like heat a whole house on their own, and you can be like cooking for hours on the things, okay? There's a lovely bedroom, and the window of that looks out onto our garden, and I can already smell the scent of all of the various different flowers and herbs that are in the garden space when I open the windows, and it really is a lovely, lovely smell. And then in one room, it's tiny little box room space with an odd assortment of various different things. There's shelves, looks like a lot of old books were held there. There's not really anything there right now. There's a large wooden table that looks like it was some sort of a workspace. It's got all sorts of stains and scratches on it from what looks to be spilled candles wax. There's scratches from different herbs and the likes. No, there's no donation links, none of that, okay? People want to support us, they can by downloading our game on itch.io, and they can play it and tell their friends about it, okay? So what do I do to make this perfect chef's kiss? I think what I'm going to be doing is, now that I've seen the garden and now that I've seen this space, I go back into my car, lifting up the boot of the car, I start taking out my boxes of jars, okay? I'm one of these people who obsessively collects jars, and because you never know when you're going to need a good jar. And now that I've got all these herbs in the garden surrounding us, well, I can use these jars when I collect and dry the herbs for the various different remedies I'm doing. So I'd say I spend a good 2 hours cleaning up this little workspace, and on the shelves that it previously, I can tell from the markings of the dust and grime on the walls that there was lines where there were books there. I'm filling these shelves now with jars instead. So that's what I spent probably about 2 hours doing that. Now it was late enough in the afternoon I got there, so I'm pretty tired by the time I finished. Thankfully, even on the edge of a village, they do have takeaway, so I'm able to get myself a nice takeaway for the evening. But I'm actually feeling pretty good by the end of it. Obviously, I'm packing the rest of my stuff, clothes going into the chest of drawers and wardrobes, a few decorations already going around in the living room, and by the end of the day, I've made myself a lovely pot of tea, and I'm enjoying this lovely pot of tea in front of a roaring fire that I have lit in the living room on day one in my house. So, day 2. You've been working on the cottage and it's becoming a lovely home. You've been cleaning, redecorating, making a reading nook, and hardly seen anyone in ages. Heaven. But a talking animal has just shown up and it won't go away. It is, oh my god, a sarcastic toad with many, many minor health problems. So, having on day 2 spent most of the day cleaning up this house, getting it lovely and clean, redecorating, moving stuff around, I moved around some of the furniture, so I have this lovely little corner of the living room where there's like one of these large high back chairs that's just like perfectly positioned, so that I've got a nice blast of the fire, but from the heat from the fire, but I can still look out the front and see anything coming. And there's a little side table for my, what will be probably soon a expanding cups of tea. I was on to my internet service provider earlier today, and they have told me that in a few days they will be in with running the cables from the main road up to the house, so that I will have perfect Wi-Fi, because yes, Neve, I am living the dream. My lovely little cozy cottage with perfect Wi-Fi. As I've said before, my dream is to live in a log cabin in the middle of the woods with perfect Wi-Fi. That is the dream, okay? But I hear a noise coming from towards the front of the house, and it sounds like coughing, okay? So going up, I open the door and looking around, don't see anybody, but then I hear the coughing some more, and I look down, and I see this tiny, well, not tiny, this small little toe looking up at me with bleary eyes as it coughs some more. Well, it took you long enough to open the door, didn't it? I suppose I should be giving you a big bow of thanks, I guess. So, if you'll excuse me, and they just crawl past me to get into the house. I'm like, sorry, who are you? What are you doing? And why are you talking? Looking up at me, the bleary-eyed tells it, the name is Finton. You're my new neighbour. Popping in to say hello. And, oh, it's nice and warm in here. That's good. If you don't mind, I'm going to say, I couldn't trouble you for a damp cloth or something that you could just put by the fire so that I could be, warming myself, because I have a bit of arthritis in the owl legs. I'm not as young as I used to be, but I don't want to dry out too much. This skin is very delicate despite what the warts might have you think. So if you could be a dare now, and just a nice maybe terry cloth, would be lovely. A soft but absorbent material would be perfect for this now. Go off and be a dare, and if you could maybe heat the water to it, just tepid, not warm, not cold, just tepid, that would be delightful. So off I go, and I will heat this terry cloth that I happen to have in the kitchen, put a drop of hot water on it from the kettle from earlier making my pot, and lay it down for Finton, my new neighbour, who scrunches up. At this point, I actually get out my little journal and I write all of this down inside of it. You're not going to believe what happened today. I just met a new neighbour, and yes, it's a toad. But it's like, well, they're prettier than my ex was, though they're about as sarcastic as they were too. So, well, we'll just see. So anyway, yes. So that's the end of day 2. Now you see, this is the thing. If I was actually playing this on my own and not on stream for you all right now, I would have my journal. I would and I mean a physical notebook, and I'd be putting sketches of a little toad. I'm not very good at drawing. Neve, she's a wonderful artist, not me. But this is the great thing about this kind of stuff. So, obviously I'm not doing this now for the stream. I'm just doing what I hope is not disingenuous or unfair playthrough of the game. But this is what I know I would be doing right now. If I was just at home and I had some peace and quiet for the evening, daughter gone to bed, and my wife out with some friends, I'd be okay. I'll get one of my lovely little notebook journals, because I have a bunch of them even though I don't write, and I would be doing this, and I would be writing it down with my fountain pen with little sketches of the toad, because that's the fun thing about this kind of stuff. And that's actually one of the things I love about the idea of solo RPGs, is that when you're journaling, you can go back and read through the game again. So it's like you're experiencing the game again when you read through what you wrote when you played it, which is, I think, a wonderful part of solo RPGs. It's something that you don't get when you're playing with your group of friends. Obviously, when you're playing with your group of friends, you got meeting up, like, oh, remember that time when we did that thing in game, but it's not the same as what you can do when you are journaling. So that's definitely something that I would be doing, okay? I suppose this is being recorded. I will be uploading the VOD of this to my YouTube channel for people as well. And I guess if I want, I can go back, look over this if I so wish at another time. So, day 3. A couple of your neighbours pop around with a welcome to the neighbourhood gift. What is it? I know what I, Neil, would love, but interesting to see what the die decides. 6. Oh, an invitation to dinner tonight. So, you better pen a quick thank you note. Oh, and write down that weird advice they gave you about the woods. So, what's my neighbour's name? Michael and Miriam. Yes, Michael and Miriam came over with a bottle of wine and a couple of muffins from the village bakery. Okay, and they're like, oh, it's so lovely to meet you. We've been really excited to meet our new neighbour. Are you doing anything this evening? If not, we have to have you over for dinner. We're the cottage with the red door that's just about a half a kilometre down the road. Okay, and what would be the weird advice that they would give me about the woods? Because my cottage does back onto the woods, you see. So, I don't know, can anybody in chat think of any suggestions of weird advice that they might have given me for the woods? Because I think this is more fun if we all get involved. I know it's technically a solo RPG, but you know, I'm streaming with chat. I think people are being shy. So I am going to say that the owls are not what they seem. That is, I like that. I'm going to expand on that a bit further, and I'm going to say that they warn me, if you're traveling through the woods in the evening and especially at night time, don't carry anything shiny on you, because the owls have been known to steal shiny trinkets from people who live in the area that they spot them carrying out at night. And the funny weird thing is, even if you've hidden it, the owls always seem to find it. How do we know it was the owls? Well, who else would it be? So, I go to a lovely evening meal with Michael and Miriam, asking them about the previous owner of the cottage, and they tell me that it was a lovely old woman who'd lived in the cottage for years. In fact, nobody was quite sure how old she was. Some people claim that she was 153, but that's of course nonsense. But at the same time, some of the elderly people in the village said that they knew her as an old woman when they were young. But you know how old people are, they get confused, and they were obviously thinking about this young woman's grandmother that they knew when they were children, because there's no way a woman could be 153, right? Absolutely not. Old Bessie was her name, and she was a bit of a local legend. If you had anything that ailed you, any sort of coughs or creaks or aches, she always had the cure. And she was a bit of an odd one, you know. If you offended her, you could be cursed with bad luck, but if you were on her good side, you would be blessed with good fortune. And it's a pretty enjoyable evening's meal. They tell me that they've been binge watching old episodes of Jamie Oliver, and they're trying a bunch of his different recipes. And they were trying some sort of, it was a fish pie dish, and it wasn't bad, but they'd to be honest with you, the fish was a little bit overcooked and the pastry was a little bit undercooked. But so I had to be a bit polite trying to eat through it all, and there was a lot of pastry left on my plate. But I made the excuse that I was saving room for the dessert. The dessert was quite a nice, simple apple pie, though, so it was all good. So, day 4. You're beginning to learn a little bit more about the person who lived here before you, something about their personality and hobbies. They had 3. What you can only assume is a bird hide on the edge of the property with odd markings on the wall. So, name the previous owner and summarize what you know and how you found out. Well, already I was told a lot about Old Bessie by Miriam and Michael. But interestingly enough, when I see this bird hide, okay, so bird hide being like little wooden structure usually that you'll hide in when you're bird watching so that the birds don't see you. Odd markings on the walls of it. These odd markings, when I look at them again, I realize that they're etchings and engravings of the outlines of owls. So that has me wondering now what they said about owls stealing shiny knickknacks. Was maybe Aunt Bessie involved? Was she using the owls to maybe like get her hands on shiny little valuables that she could use? Who knows? I'm wondering maybe if there was a bit of that going on. We'll have to wait and see. So, day 5. You thought the talking animal was a bit odd. And Finton, by the way, he claimed he was my neighbour. He hasn't actually left the house. It's getting kind of annoying. But I will say that I have noticed on day 1 when I came in, when I first moved into the house, it looked like there was a lot of slugs in the garden, but since Finton's moved in, I haven't seen a single one. So yes. So day 5. You thought the talking animal was a bit odd, but this morning you opened your door to find someone half dead lying on a doorstep, apparently claiming sanctuary. Oh God. You have a tiny skeleton wrapped in blankets in your parlor, drinking chamomile tea and begging for help. Why did they need sanctuary? Why did you let them stay? And what on earth have you let yourself in for? Well, I'm thinking that I heard odd noise and I opened the door and I saw what I thought was some sort of a weird, creepy, macabre child's toy in the form of a tiny little skeleton. Like perfectly formed human skeleton, but only about 25-30 centimeters long. And I thought that was pretty weird. And then when I reached up to pick it up, it then turned and spoke to me and was like, asked could I let it in, saying that it needed sanctuary, which obviously scared the crap out of me. And I was so stressed that I was like, I needed a cup of chamomile tea to calm myself down. And when they had smelled it, they said, oh, they'd love some too. The only problem is they're a skeleton, so every time they take a sip of it, it's just going through them. Why did I let them stay? Honestly, I think it was mostly shock. I was going on autopilot because it was a talking skeleton, and when they asked, could they stay? Could they get my help? Could I give them a safe space? I automatically just said, oh yes, of course you can. Absolutely, no problem with that. But now I've realized I've got a talking skeleton in my house. The talking toad is bad enough, but a talking baby skeleton, these things are getting really weird right now. And I have no idea what I'm letting myself do. Also, they said they needed sanctuary. They didn't say from what. I could tell when I saw them that they'd clearly been in the woods. There's, you know, little bits of leaves and stuff stuck in some of their bone, but like we cleaned that out. So I think they were in the woods. Oh, hello Emma. Hello Megan. Great to see you both. We're just getting into this. We're on day 5 of our this solo RPG, Not Your Witch. Which is a really fun little game. What if the skeleton kills? Well, we'll find out if the skeleton kills me while I'm sleeping. I like to think good of people, so I'm hoping that things will be okay. Also, I do have Finton. He might be able to help me out here as well. Okay, but we will see. I like to think the good in people. Okay. But I do, now that you said that, I think what I would do is I would get my dice bag, because obviously I have a dice bag, I'm a gamer, and I would scatter some D4s around the inside of the door to my bedroom, because they are the perfect caltrop, just in case this skeleton were to try to come in. Why have I frozen there? That's weird. Okay, so we are good. So, yes, so as I said, because of the very valid point that what if the tiny little skeleton that I found decided to kill me, a bunch of, you have a set of dice that are less than a centimeter in size, that would do a lot of damage, okay? So I scatter about 7 or 8 D4s around my bedroom door just in case, okay? So, day 6, alright? So, day 6, a local comes to see you for help. The problem is 3, a minor physical ailment. Okay. So, so a local comes. They're after cutting himself up with a particularly deep and nasty cut, and they're worried about it getting infected. It could possibly do with some stitches, I don't know, but they don't want to bother going to the hospital, waiting in accident and emergency for 15 hours. So they've come to me for some help. Now, I've been looking through the different herbs and the likes that I have, and I have spotted a couple of them that make really good healing poultices. So I spend about an hour or so with this farmer, mixing up a bunch of poultices. We clean out their wound, and then I fill the wound with the poultices, okay? And then we bandage it up with gauze bandages, and I tell them, leave it, keep it dry, and in another 2 days, it should have actually healed up significantly, okay? They're thinking the whole time that this is incredible, that I'm magic. I don't think it's magic at all. This is basic herbalism that I learned from my grandmother, who actually was a bit of a local legend herself. Okay, this is pure coincidence that this has happened. I am not a witch, but that neither here nor there. Apart from that, the day is fairly uneventful. The skeleton is still around. They still haven't introduced themselves. Finton seems to like them, but we're not entirely sure, because Finton is incredibly sarcastic toad, so it's hard to know if they're actually being genuine or not most of the time. On day 7, I'm cleaning through some of the stuff in the house, going through some of the old boxes that were left behind by the previous owner, and I find a book, okay? Left by my previous owner. Can't help myself, read it and experiment. The book is Ley Lines and Places of Power by Misty Crockett. What do you discover, and how do your experiments surprise you? Make notes in case you need them to refer to in the future. This is a really fascinating book that's talking about the geography of the area, and it would seem that there's a whole bunch of ley lines in this area, but about 5 of them all converge on the spot where the cottage is. So, what do? I think I'm going to experiment, and I'm going to get myself a piece of clear quartz crystal, and I set it up on a spot in the table, in that little box room that had the table with all of the candle wax on it, and the bookshelves that had previously been, full of books, and are now full of my jars of herbs. And I tried to focus feeling the energy of the ley lines flowing through the space, channeling them into the crystal. Now, I'm not sure if it's because I'm staring at it for ages and the light is playing funny tricks with my eyes, which are getting kind of sore because of the low light in the area, but I'm convinced after about 20-30 minutes that quartz crystal is actually starting to glow. And I make some notes in my journal about it, and when I pick it up, it is warm, and I bring it out, and I think there is still a bit of a light glow in it, which is very interesting, okay? I'm wondering, could I charge up crystals to make them into simple little lamps that might help me? We'll wait and we'll see. So, day 8. Walking in the woods, you come across a poor animal caught in a trap. Nothing surprises you anymore. after the talking toad and the skeleton, nothing really surprised me anymore. Not even the fact that it was a phoenix. Of course it is. I find a phoenix caught in a trap. Poor little thing, and the ground around it has been somewhat scorched by its flames. Alright. I slowly take it out of the trap. Finton is there and he's like with me, and he convinces the he's like, look, I know that they're humans can be a bit annoying, but trust me, this one's actually not a bad one. You should come with us, we'll fix you up. And the phoenix, one of its legs had been caught in the snare. Okay, so I bandage it up bandage up its wound and put some herbs in it to help it heal itself. And the token it gives me is, reaching with its beak, it plucks one of its feathers and gives it to me. And when I hold the feather up, I can just see the faintest flicker of flame around the feather. When I put my hand to it, I can feel a heat coming off it, but it's not burning me. So this is very, very, very interesting. So I now have a talking toad, a talking skeleton, but that's only about 25-30 centimeters in height, a book on ley lines and places of power that is telling me that my cottage is a convergence point of many of these, and I now have a phoenix feather. But I'm totally not a witch. These are just like random things that are happening because of this funny old house that I'm living in. So, day 9, more local trouble. This time a group of important community members comes to you to beg for help. The wishing well in the centre of the village is haunted. There are screeches and wails coming from it at all times of the day and night, and it is unbearable. The previous owner of your cottage sorted out the problem by turning the well into a wishing well. For many years the ghost was nicely distracted by all the shiny pennies and occasional bottle top that was thrown in, but something has upset them and it isn't working any longer. You reluctantly roll up your sleeves and fix it by agreeing to visit every Wednesday and Sunday because it's lonely. That appears to be the problem. People have been chucking coins in, but they forgot about the ghost themselves. So I say I'll pop by for a chat on Wednesdays and Sundays, okay? And what wisdom about the village witch does the ghost impart? The ghost tells me that a number of locals in the past have asked the previous owner of the cottage to help them speak to loved ones who's passed away. But this is a terrible, terrible thing to do. There's always trouble when the previous owner did contact their spirits of lost loved ones, because they were usually telling them really mean things that they were too scared to tell them in life, but now that they're dead, they have nothing to worry about. So the ghost suggests that if I'm asked to do that I just pretend that I'm channeling the spirit of dead loved ones, and again just say something very nice and generic that'll make them really happy, and not to try to contact the spirits of the deceased, because sometimes they can be really mean. Day 10. You receive a strange invitation delivered on the wind. Just as I'm coming back in, having gone out and watered some of my plants, I see a gust of wind, and fluttering on the wind is a piece of paper. I think it's some litter, and I reach out for it, and I see it's actually an invitation. I have been cordially invited to the underground circus. Come at the witching hour and bring your familiar. And the location is the basement of the parish hall, which I have seen the other day when I was in dealing with the ghost in the well. And they tell me to bring Finton. I don't know why they're calling him a familiar, but I'm assuming that's what they mean. Though Finton's totally not my familiar because I'm totally not a witch. So, the underground circus. Did you enjoy yourself? What was the best part of the night? So the underground circus was a somewhat eclectic group of people. There was contortionists, there was acrobats, there was jugglers, there was one creepy clown, but I didn't really talk to the clown that much. My favorite part of the night, I've got to say, was probably the poaching that myself and the fire breather were sharing. Yeah, it was pretty strong stuff, hence the fire breathing, but it was a good session. Now, Day 11. And by the way, this game goes up, oh gosh, 13 days. So we're actually getting through really, really quickly, you know? And I can't help but think, like, if I was doing this properly with the journaling, I would have been putting more details in. Like, I'd have given my skeleton a name. The village would, the ghost would have a name as well. This is the kind of stuff that I'd be filling in, probably including the names of a few of the people in the underground circus and so forth. Definitely stuff that I would be doing. I'm obviously, as I said, not doing it now because you guys don't want to see me typing stuff on a screen. That's going to be boring. This is just to give a fun overview of this game, okay? One thing that I actually do really like about this game, not that I have an issue with this mechanic in other games, but I like the fact that this game is only using a D6 for the mechanic. A lot of the solo RPGs that I've been looking into use tarot or standard decks of playing cards. And yeah, while that's cool as well, I have a couple of tarot decks and I love them. There's just something I really like about the simplicity of you rolling a die to see what the outcome is. I don't know why, I actually just kind of really like that. It keeps things a bit more straightforward. Also, probably is the fact that I think, you know, with solo RPGs that use tarot, you're going to be constantly having to go back looking at tables to see, well, what does this card mean? What does that card mean? Is it a major or minor arcana and the likes? Whereas I like the simplicity of this. It's a list of options from 1 to 6. You roll your die, you get your option. And I really, really love that so much about this game. That's probably one of the things that drew me to this game so much. Now, I will in the next while probably be doing some solo RPGs with tarot. And I'll show what they're like too. But just got to say, this is something that I really loved about this game and definitely drew me to it. So anyway, day 11. You've trapped something dangerous in the cellar. Oh yeah, there is a cellar to the cottage. The cellar is very secure and the thing can't get out. I guess you're just going to have to keep it here, safe. What is it? The demon Azazel. Okay, make a note of everything important about the situation in case you die and someone else comes to live here. You know, the sort of thing your previous owner should have mentioned to you. Right, so the demon Azazel is this great gelatinous black ooze of a demon with glowing red eyes and a massive maw full of razor sharp teeth and 7 tentacles, which bothers me because of the lack of symmetry. Okay, 7 tentacles. Okay, now it's big and it's powerful and it's ugly, but because it is made of a black ooze pudding, it doesn't like salt. So I was able to use salt to stop it from escaping and chucked a load of salt on the stairs leading up out of the cellar. As a result of this, I've now put about 4 buckets of salt on shelves at the top of the stairs, and I went and I got some salt rock which I've chucked down the stairs and put around on the base so that the creature definitely can't get out. Now I am of course going to make sure that I go down every day or two with some nice clear water from the local stream, because you don't want this creature to get dehydrated. Give it some snacks and some nibbles, but definitely that was the important thing. This thing hates salt and we definitely want to be able to use that against it, okay? Also, it's weird in that it was talking about like how it was going to be caught in its beauty, but when it sees its own reflection, because it's quite gross being this gelatinous black pudding type thing, it's pretty freaked out by it. So I'm going to put a few mirrors around it as well, so that it's like, if it tries to escape, it's going to see its reflection and then run away. So, day 12, a day of peace brokering. Someone finally comes for the little creature to whom you gave sanctuary. What do you say to secure their freedom? 2. So, agree to owe the aggrieved party a favor to be collected. So, I'm thinking that this skeleton offended some fairies living in the woods, and they were really annoyed. It kind of tried to move in on their turf, claim a section of a glade that they were living in, and they got really angry about this. The fairies are about the same size as the skeleton, and he was seeing how lovely their homes were. He was like, oh, these are lovely homes. I'd like a lovely home like this. But instead of going to them and talking and being reasonable and saying, hey, could you guys maybe build me a beautiful home like this and I could do you a favor? He was a dick about it, okay? Now, they've kind of gotten over it, but the principle of the thing, which is really annoying them, you know, they're not going to like hold a grudge indefinitely, but this guy was definitely a dick about it, okay? So I agree that I will definitely help them out with these things, because the thing is, when I was in university, I actually took a module in interior design, and I'm going to help them with some of the interior design of their homes. I particularly specialize in feng shui, and then I think this will definitely help them out. So at some stage now in the next while, I'll be basically doing some interior design work for these fairies. And finally, day 13. You are giving in. The local community needs a witch. The house was expecting a witch. The talking animal is clearly your familiar. And whether you like it or not, you're actually rather good at this. What is the first thing you do as a witch? Set some clear boundaries and guidelines with the Fae so they stop taking liberties. Well, you know, I think that's actually kind of hilarious, considering that my own game, Fae Earth, is very much about that. And in our current campaign, that's a big central part of the story right now, is the Fae are pissed off because there was a recent war with humans, and they're like, humans have lost all the respect for the Fae, but then the humans are like, yeah, but you guys can be real assholes at times. So trying to set clear boundaries and guidelines with the Fae, I think, is actually just so ridiculously chef's kiss on point, considering what I do. So when you come home that night, there is a old, slightly worn, pointed black hat tossed casually on the hat stand, almost as if it was waiting for you. Write how you feel on the first day of the new year. So I think how I feel about this is somewhat conflicted, because on the one hand, I did not want to be a witch. I was convinced that I was not a witch. Why are people calling me a witch? Why are people treating me like a witch? This is ridiculous. I'm not a witch. But at the same time, now that I've accepted this about myself, I feel at peace within myself that has come upon me by gaining this acceptance. And I'm kind of feeling good about knowing what the next step in my life is going to be. Definitely. So, that is the end of our game. Alright, I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you found it as much fun as I did. As I say, it's a delightfully simple game. You can find it on itch at the Black Armada itch page, but I'm going to share the link in chat again. I can't remember how much it cost. It was like somewhere between $5 and $10 I think. It was pretty cheap. And how I actually came upon this, by the way, was I was following Black Armada Games on Twitter, and they retweeted, I think it was, Becky's tweet about the fact that she's just released this game, and that was how I was like, oh, this looks fun. Oh, it's a solo RPG. Oh, I'm looking for solo RPGs. Instantly buy it. And that was how I found it, okay? This lucky thing of like, of coming across on your timeline, which is awesome because my timeline is being a mess right now thanks to Muskie. So that was how I actually found it, okay? So definitely go and check out Black Armada's itch.io page. They've got some fun stuff there. Be sure to follow them. Be sure to follow Becky on Twitter. If you're on the Bird app, like I am, well, we still have a Bird app. And yeah, I hope people had as much fun as I did. Sorry about that brief freezing up thing. I don't know why that happened. I have a very good computer with a very, very powerful graphics card with a lot of RAM in it. But nonetheless, these things do happen. And yeah, thanks for joining us. Probably not going to have one of these next week, but maybe the week after. I only there yesterday realized how many games I have in my itch.io library. It's kind of shocking. A lot of them were from bundles that I paid for, but I've been going through them and I found a few solo RPGs there that I didn't even realize I own, that I'll probably be putting out if you are following me, best way to find out when these streams are going to happen is to be following me on Twitter. I don't have these scheduled because I don't know 100% from week to week if I'll be free on a Friday to do this. So at the moment, not scheduled, though in about 4 weeks time I'll be on my summer holidays because I'm a secondary school teacher, and once that happens, hopefully these will become a bit more regular. So anyway, I'm going to call it a night there, folks. Thank you everybody for this, what I hope you found was a fun but somewhat short stream for this really, really fun game. Definitely would recommend you get it and play it, but play it properly with a journal, with a pen, so you can really enjoy the experience and then have this lovely story to read back on whenever you want. But with that, I'm going to say goodnight everybody, and hopefully see you on Tuesday for our regular stream at 8 o'clock, where we have a bunch of badass women getting up to all sorts of crazy, somewhat sapphic shenanigans in an alternate 19th century France. So good night all.